This is a little revision quiz. There's 14 pages of questions, so this is the first page. They're, I've tried to make them quite creative, so they're not necessarily difficult because they need lots of algebra, but they're difficult because maybe the answer's difficult to see or the method's difficult to see. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Okay, so the first answer is A. Not sure? Look at square root of 9 times square root of 9. That is definitely 9. Pause the video, you can think about that, work it all out. It's definitely true. Okay, next one. I'm going to times everything by x. So that'll be 1 plus 3x equals 11x. I'll minus 3x from both sides. So that'll be 1 equals 8x. So that means that x equals 1/8. Okay, remember, pause the video if you need to have a go in your own time. That's why I'm going so fast. Okay. Well, I could just square root both sides. So that means that x equals plus or minus 8. And this one, x equals 4. Why have I not written plus or minus 4? Because minus 4 cubed is minus 64. So just to be clear, those are the two correct answers there, and that's supposed to be an 8. Next. Explain what is meant by a random sample. I've pre-prepared my answer to save writing. A sample in which each object has an equal chance of being selected. This is a kind of strange question I see come up in exams sometimes, and I like to just be prepared with the answer. This is a strangely worded question. Verify that f of 1 is less than f of 3. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to work out what f of 1 is. That's 1 squared, which is 1. F of 3, well, that's 3 squared, which is 9. Oh, well then 1 is definitely less than 9. Correct. So I have now verified it. That was what that question meant. This isn't even a question. Just look at it for a moment. When would we use these three different ways of writing the same thing? Answer. This is my answer anyway. I think the first one is good for solving or rearranging. If I'm solving something, I want a positive power, definitely. If I'm doing calculus, well, I don't really want it at the bottom, I want it on the top, so I can differentiate it, so using as if it's x to the n, and then n is minus 2/3. Also, if I'm just doing indices work, I think I'd prefer that. And if I'm just calculating a number, say it's 8, I just want to be able to put 8 in there, and then, oh, right, well, 8 squared is 64, cube root, that's 4, so that's a quarter. Whereas neither of the other two I find very helpful with dealing with numbers. Anyway, slightly up to you, but I would say this is broadly true for everybody. Oh, this is an interesting solve. You may spend ages rearranging it, or just by inspection, you can just see that x must be 2, because a half plus a half is 1. Oh, I like this question. This can throw some people. I don't know. X could be 10, or 5, or 1, or 0.9, or 11,287,000. And oh yeah, so actually there's a lot of possible numbers. Okay, this says calculate or state not a real number. I'm just going to put a cross next to it if it's not a real number. The square root of 64 is definitely 8. There is no square root of a negative number. The cube root of 64 is 4. The cube root of minus 64 is minus 4, because you can have the cube root of a negative number. The sixth root of 64 is 2. There is no sixth root of minus 64 because again it's an even power, which means minus numbers become positive. So that's impossible to map. Wow, if I had $1 for every student that got this question wrong, I'd have a lot of money. Oh look, by the way, look, there's no x squared there. So then equals 0, minus 6 from both sides, so 6x equals minus 6. Divide both sides by 6, x equals minus 1. And maybe I could have $1 for every student that gets this question wrong as well. And I'm going to actually, do you know what? I've occasionally got this question wrong as well because easy slip to make. How do we solve this? It's a quadratic, so we need to make it equal to 0. So I've done the first step. The second step is going to be I'm going to take out a fact. I'm going to try and factorise it, which I can do. 6x minus 1. Now that tells me that x equals 0 or x equals 1/6. I'm saving time and like rearranging in my head. There's two answers. Careful you don't lose an answer. Next. Can both of these be true? I'm asking the same question twice. Well, up here I'm going to do it by inspection again. And I'm just going to say, well, definitely, because if x is 10, then they're both true. What about this one here? Well, I'm going to rearrange this to say x equals 5, and then I'm going to substitute it into here, and then that gives me 5 minus 11 equals 5, which is not true. So no. By the way, this is quite important because if you're trying to solve something and maybe it's quite a complicated question and you end up with an equation that something like this happens and you can't solve it, well, it does happen a lot in real life that things can't be solved, but if you do it in an exam they told you that you can solve it, then presumably you must have made a mistake, which meant you ended up with an equation that couldn't be solved. Okay, what about this one? There's three things multiplied together. So either x plus 7 equals 0, or x plus 2 equals 0, or this thing equals 0, which is going to give me, which is going to give me three possible answers. So x equals minus 7, or minus 2, or a quarter. Now let's look at the last page. This is our last question. Let's solve this one. I'm going to multiply this out because it's not equal to 0 yet. I wonder if anybody made that mistake. So 3 times 3 is 6x plus 9 equals 2. X squared plus 6x plus 7 equals 0. X equals 0. That could be. This is interesting. How would I make 7? Well, it's a prime number, so it's going to have to be 1 times 7. And that doesn't make 6, does it? So let's try the formula. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a, which equals minus 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 4ac, so minus 28, divided by 2a, so that's divided by 2, so that's going to be minus 3 plus or minus the square root of 8 divided by 2. That'll do. I could have simplified that some more, but I decided not to. Square root of 8 is 2 root 2, so that would end up as, well, let's just do it anyway, so it would end up as minus 3 plus or minus root 2. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found some of those questions useful for your learning.